Hello and welcome to the summit. Les Brown, thank you so much for inviting me to this platform to share with your audience around the resiliency of being a great leader, transformational leader. We're all in the midst of change, and how better now to talk about how to really get over the fact that we're in a change and really have it be able to be a catalyst to our greatness as opposed to pushing against the tide. I am Yvette C. Owens. I am a speaker. I'm a two-time international best-selling author, and I coach and consult leaders, equipping them to create thriving cultures for everyone. That's right, for everyone. Everyone should be able to have a safe place where they can grow, expand their skills and their knowledge. And that comes from a passion of some of the things that I've experienced and learned to be resilient in, to be transforming, allow myself to be transformed in, and to be able to enhance my creativity as a leader. This is a picture of me. I do it, and I do this often through workshops. I help teach the principles of agile change leadership to people, and this is why. Can you imagine? And maybe you've already had this experience similar to me. I was going through my career, and in my career, it was going so well. I was having so many great experiences. Um, Promotion. I was well respected my in my industry, well respected by my leadership, having great opportunities. Everything seemed to be working in Yvette's favor. In my favor, things were going well. I had great team engagement, and all of a sudden, life hit. All of a sudden, all of this just seemed to just turn and go awry. And where did it go awry? There was one afternoon that I was going and heading towards the office that was in the left corner of the floor. The big office, the big office where the most senior leader sits. It was my time to be able to really have a time of elevation. I was going for promotion. I was feeling very confident in myself, confident in my accomplishments, confident in the respect that I had gained in the organization among my peers, leaders, and even clients. It was really at that time that I felt it was time for me to step into a new dimension of my career, to be able to do something even greater, not just for myself and for my family, but also for the organization that I had spent 20 plus years. Matter of fact, it was more than 25 years helping to build and contribute to the results of this organization. So said, why not? An opening had come, and I said, why not? Why shouldn't I go for the opening? I felt like I was qualified, and I felt like I could contribute and really add something to that position and the people who I would influence as I was in that position, the people who I would lead, those who would look for my direction as we fulfill the assignments and the task and create awesome outcomes, not just output, but awesome outcomes. So I headed over to the office of the senior leader, which was actually the last interview I really had to have for the position. And I went in, honestly, I must admit, even though we've had some relationship and we've been in meetings before together, and obviously we've worked on assignments together, but I was a little nervous, honestly, because you're going for something new, and you're really putting yourself out there, and this is a one-on-one conversation. So I went into the office and I sat down, but still being confident in the fact that I know I'm qualified for this position. I spent a lot of time building my reputation. I spent a lot of time making sure that I was successful in what people asked me to do, successful even in owning my space, even owning the responsibilities I had, going above and beyond, getting great performance reviews, getting even interacting well with our human resource directors. All of that was in my favor. So I thought, until I sat down. And as we did our normal cordial greetings, she immediately started saying, I have no idea why you're applying for this position. You're not qualified. You couldn't handle the position because you are like a bull in a china closet. You're over aggressive. And I sat there in amazement. I sat there in shock. I sat there like, what in the world just happened? I even asked, why am I just hearing this now? What if I never stepped in this office for this interview? Would it have ever come to my attention or been addressed by my leader, my senior leader, my HR representative? Would anyone have ever said any of this to me? And they were legitimate questions because, again, performance reviews, mid-year discussions, monthly one-on-ones, casual conversations in the hallways never led to something like that. I don't know. Have you had an experience where you thought you were good? You thought you were on level playing field? You thought you were in a positive, safe place? And now you're facing the enemy. And worse, you're facing an enemy on what should be safe ground, friendly ground, ground that would help develop you. But yet, the enemy is your leader. How do you address that? So after I asked the question, why am I just hearing this? The response that I got back was chilling and it was gut-wrenching. And she merely casually said, well, I'm telling you now, as if that was acceptable. I'm telling you now, I'm going for career advancement. I'm going to stretch myself. I'm trying to be able to contribute even more to the organization. As I grow, you grow. And now you're just saying that you have this concern. So I gathered myself because internally there was all kinds of turmoil going on. But externally, while I looked bewildered, I had to compose myself, get up, say thank you very much for your time, and leave the office. But can I tell you that on the way back to my office, I was feeling like rejected, blindsided, betrayed, confused, and bewilderment. And then survival started kicking in. Survival. Why survival? Because at the time I was a single mom, raising my daughter. At the time I was a single mom raising a teenage daughter with a mortgage. I was carrying all this weight all by myself in a state, in a town, away from my parents, away from other family members that I could readily run to and say, hey, I need some help. And I know you can call a neighbor, you can call a friend, you can call a family member. But when you're potentially in desperate financial situations that you didn't see coming, and that's the thing about change. We have to be able to get our arms around it, embrace it, and not push against what's happening, but lean in to the resistance. Lean in, lean in, lean in, lean into it. Now, it didn't feel good, and leaning in at that time, honestly, was not what I was thinking about. I was thinking about how I was going to survive for this little girl, this teenager that I was raising. And if you know anything about teenagers, you know they can be trying times already. They're bucking the system. They're wanting to be held, but yet they want their independence. They're exploring what's next for them, yet they want to take and explore things that they're not quite ready for right now. And you're continually establishing those boundaries. So I had challenges in my, natural challenges in my life personally. And now I have this situation that could be absolutely detrimental to me. Absolutely detrimental. It could crush my career. So I had to actually figure out, what am I going to do? Because honestly, I was in warfare. And workplace warfare is real. Here I had a leader who I thought was considering my best interest, had my best interest at heart, who was looking out for me. And not that she was overly friendly, but you would assume that your leaders are covering you, are looking how they can help you grow, how they can help you advance in the organization. But you and I know that workplace warfare is real. And here I was, sitting in the midst of workplace warfare. And it's one thing if it comes from somebody from another division or another department, or maybe even one of your vendors or one of your customers. But when it comes from your leader, oh my God. Has anybody ever been in that situation? Has anybody ever thought that you had the backing of someone just to only be betrayed? To only be slighted? To only be rejected? To only be cast down and disqualified by the very person that you were leaning on, depending on, to help build you and grow you? Well, here I was. Here I was in that situation. And I had to make a decision. Was I going to let this tear me down and stop me? Because it very well could have derailed me. It could have literally stopped me right in my tracks. And career over, game over, close up shop, go home, and climb under my bed. But again, I had that little girl who was waiting for me, who had hopes for a greater future, who was looking to go to college, who was looking to be able to get a car when she was 16 and all that thing. And I was hoping to be able to do that for her. So I had to go into action mode. I couldn't feel sorry for myself. I had to immediately say, I am not going to be the victim. I'm not going to be a victim. I'm going to figure out how to get to the next, even if you don't want to help me. Resilience. That's where it comes from. Resilience. I had to figure out, geez, what was going to be next? Joseph Campbell says, we must be willing to let go of the life we planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. Well, I had planned a lot, right? On my way to that corner office, I was pumping myself up. I had everything ready to go. I had my proof and evidence. I had the receipts showing that I was ready for this next level. And life threw me a curveball. So I planned to let that idea go and seek help to figure out what was next. I had to be willing to let my expectations in that area go, never letting the dream go, never letting my goals go, never letting the fact that I wanted greatness for my family. But it was not going to come that way. So I had to be willing to shift in the midst of it. So I took the time to go and conversate with a colleague, and I recounted the situation for her, and she said, "You really need to go and talk to leaders to see how far reaching, if at all, this far-fetched tale, this made up scenario has gone." Because I didn't know if she had started to, my nemesis had started to send this message out across the organization, because I knew where I was not going to be a healthy place for me. So I knew I had to begin to find the next place. But how many of you know that can be difficult if somebody goes out and starts spreading rumors? Somebody goes and starts telling lies throughout the organization about you. That makes going to the next place very difficult. So I had to see, is it out there? Is the word out there? How are people perceiving me? Again, leaning in. And that could be very scary, because I didn't know what I was going to hear. Because remember, I just heard this very negative report and had no idea how it was being repeated and replayed in the organization. So I took her advice, and I called on a couple of people who I had served in the past, who I worked alongside, who were my leaders, and sat down and asked, "What are you hearing about me in the organization?" Now, that was a risk, but I had to, again, lean in to where the resistance was coming to overcome it. Can I tell you that many times the resistance that is coming at us is not as powerful as we think? Now, it does seem overwhelming when it first comes to you. It seems tragic. It seems tremendous. But if we would just poke at it a little bit, if we would go and lean into it, if we would challenge it, then we will more likely find out that has less wind in that bag than you anticipated. So that's what I did. I talked to these leaders, and this really taught me the importance of allyship and advocacy, and wherever it may come from, because I needed to know what they thought of me. And I was so grateful, so very grateful to find out that I was still in good favor in their mindset. I still had a good quality reputation. I'm still someone that they would call on. I was still someone that they would recommend. That is such a relief. It was such a relief to know that the damage that happened in that corner office was not far reaching. And there was hope. Who needs hope today? Who needs hope in that, even if where you are is not the most healthy, the most safe place, you're not getting the support that you need, even if where you are today is really pulling you down and weighing you down and focusing on and majoring on all the negative things as opposed to the positive things that you bring. How many of us have been in a situation where just one mistake, one misstep, and it could be a small one, gets played over and over again by those people around you? That's not a healthy place. That's not a place where you want to stay, and it's certainly not a place where you can grow. But sometimes you find yourself in that space. And I am encouraging you to go figure out what's really happening. And this is what I do with organizations, with individuals through my coaching. Lean into that resistance. Figure out what is really in the minds of people around you that's causing them to put up the resistance, that's causing them to be negative. And sometimes we need to move, because if leadership is not strong enough to carry the weight of your greatness, then you need to go find a leader that will. If you're that leader in that space and your people are pulling at you, and you're saying, we're going to the right, and we're going to the right, and we're going to build, and we're going to serve our clients even better in this way, and you're getting resistance, I challenge you to sit down and talk to those who are pushing against where you're going. Because when people don't have information, they make up what they don't know. And many times it just means all you have to do is dispel of that information. And so I have developed a program. It's called DestinySpeak Outloud. And it really allows you, built on the framework, the proprietary framework of V.I.C.T.O.R, it allows you and your organization to focus on the vision, innovation, collaboration, transformation, ownership, and resilience. Whether you're an individual or you're an organization, we all need to allow our destinies to speak out loud. And that comes only with continually changing and evolving and getting better at what we're doing, trying new things, setting a vision that is clear to everyone, so that we can now become innovative and collaborate around that vision. And once we have our game plan and roadmap and agreement on how we're going to move forward, we can, each one of us can own it because we've been engaged in it. That's what I take people through. And then whatever comes up in the creation and the execution and implementation of that, we're ready. We're resilient, and we are ready to withstand the obstacles. My Destiny Speak Out Loud, our program, takes you through those steps and helps you come out far greater. And then once you learn the pattern, once you learn how to really embrace change, once you learn how to be agile in your change, it allows you to go from idea to the marketplace so much faster and with better quality. So you say, Yvette, how does this relate to your story? I had to be agile in even my own career. How was I going to go from where I am, the idea of, I know there's more in me and I need to get to the more. I need to be in a space where I can develop that more. I can be in a space where I can nurture the more. How do I move from here to there as fast as I can with the quality that I can, so that I'm not misstepping? Because I'm coming out of a negative situation and I need to quickly get to a healthy situation. Sometimes our organizations are having to make changes for the same reason. Your product or your services are not performing as well as you like. How do we rally the troops, get some ideas going, and get to market as fast as possible? And how do we do them tangent? How are we agile to be able to constantly deliver what's needed and valued by our clients and our customers right now? We don't need to necessarily give them absolutely everything, but it is our obligation. It is our obligation to make sure that we know what they need and desire right now. What is it that they want right now? And then we can enhance on it. We can deliver something else next, and we can deliver something after that. But how do you best serve your clients? How do you best serve yourself right now? I could get to that next step. I could get to that next place, but will it serve me in the future? Or is at least taking me to the next so that I can find the next. DestinySpeak Out Loud program really is that coaching program that will help you as personally or your organization be the victor and not the victim. And I learned all of this, and this was all important to me because of that one incident. I really took all of the things that I had learned as a leader, but then when it became personal. How many of you have had something that, raise your hand if you've had something personal that literally transformed the way you think, the way you behave, the way you look for opportunities? It really transformed me. And I needed to do something different. I needed to approach life differently because I had some non negotiables. And when we're pursuing our passion, there are some non negotiables, some obligations that we have that we must be always conscious of and always be true to. My family has to be healthy and safe and taken care of. I have to be taken care of. I have to have time to be able to serve in my community as well as my workplace. I have to be in a space where I have to always, when I'm growing constantly. Those are non-negotiables. What are your non-negotiables? Have you even considered, here's my obligations. I'm not wavering on them. I'm not compromising on them. And yet that now gives you all this other space to innovate, to collaborate, to create new vision, and to have ownership in working towards it no matter what comes your way. No matter what comes your way. It led me to writing my first book and workbook, along with my third book, No Bosses Allowed, Lead to Serve and Transform, the board game for the great leaders. My first book, Conquering Corporate Enemies, Mind, Personalities, and Situations, I recount this situation in detail, along with other scenarios that I've lived through in my 40-some years of career, as well as clients and mentees, because we need to understand. I'm hoping that you're getting the flavor and understanding that it is no longer acceptable for us to have environments where people are suffering. It's no longer acceptable to create and support such a sterile environment where people can't grow, where they can't even express how they're feeling from one day to the other, where there's no empathy. I think in the past we've really shied away from empathy as though we were going to get lost in somebody else's story. And that's not true. When you're healthy and where you are or wherever you are, we don't have to get lost to care. We don't have to give up our total selves to care. We just need to care enough to listen, care enough to take action where it makes sense for us to take action. We need to just be proactive and present in those moments for those people who are around us and we influence, and whether they're our teams or colleagues, senior leaders, or even whether they're our family or friends. Can we be present in the moment enough to be that sounding board, to listen? I'll never forget, one of my oldest cousins passed away, and we were at the funeral home, and her sister was sitting out in the foyer on a bench, and I just walked over and I sat down with her, and I just held her hand, I never said a word. I wasn't led to say anything. And that moment passed. We went on throughout the day, loving on each other and sharing it with each other and making sure everybody was good. Even in our departures as we went to our different states and homes, because they still were left there to heal from this and try to figure out how they were going to go further in life without their big sister. Hey, I was trying to figure out how we were going to go, how I was even going to deal without having my older cousin around. But it was weeks later that my younger cousin said, "You know what? I want to thank you for that moment when you just came and you just sat next to me." I was like, I didn't really say anything. I was just there. She said, "That's exactly right." While she appreciated people coming along and um, sharing and giving their condolences and sharing experiences that they had with our cousin Darlene and all, she just needed somebody just to be present with her. That's what people who we work with want. They don't want us to necessarily solve their problems, their personal problems, but they do want us to acknowledge that life can get hard and life is tough. And I think we all know that after the last several years. Life gets hard. Life is tough, and it can get tougher when you don't have people who care around you. When you don't have people who are sensitive to the fact that I'm just not feeling my best right now. When we can conquer those type of attitudes and be there in the moment for someone, empathize with them, not necessarily sharing our experiences to override it and one up somebody on, oh, I know how you feel. I did this and I had that. Sometimes that's warranted. But when we're in that moment for them, with them, that's the transformation that we need. And those are the things that I've counted in various situations that I've counted in, not only in conquering corporate enemies, but also in no bosses allowed, lead to serve and transform. I contrast and compare what a boss is like versus a leader. And can I tell you that there's a difference? How many of you know there's absolutely a difference between a boss and a leader? And I know it's popular for us to say, hey, I'm bossing up, I'm the boss lady and everything, but somebody may not be interested in joining you when you're bossing up because they just left that foolishness. They just left what a boss does, and they're looking for a leader, one that can help them transform, one that can help them withstand the obstacles, and one who can help them move past what they think is really going to hurt them or be detrimental in their life. They're looking for leaders. And so that's what I share in No Bosses Allowed, Lead to Serve and Transform. And I want you to stick with me because I have something exciting to share with you about that ebook, No Bosses Allowed to Lead and Transform, at the end of my conversation with you. And so all of these experiences, the ability to go and lean into what was happening, not be a victim, but apply the victor framework, has led me to this writings and this authorship. And it has informed my experiences. So as I mentioned, I was going to give you an opportunity to be able to share in something really cool. And it is my mission in life. It is really my mission in life to equip and empower leaders to be their very best authentic selves, to be able to create spaces where people have their voices heard, to create spaces where the leader is seeking to address challenges that are impacting or threatening the bottom line, threatening their revenue or their profitability, and bring it to a team that they've nurtured that wants to help them, because the success of the organization is the success of the individual, and they're engaging again. So many leaders I've heard say people have disengaged over the last few years. They don't care if they come to work or not. They don't care. How do we build that back up? We invite people to the table. We are honest in that I don't have all the answers. And even if I have 3/4 of the answers, I want to know what you're thinking, because I know collective thought gives far greater results than an individual perspective. So invite them to the conversation. Each person on your team has an expertise that will benefit the outcome if we allow their voices to be heard. And that comes from us being willing to let our voice be heard. Let our voice be heard. Are you true to yourself? I just recently asked the question to my followers and my those who are listening to what I'm putting out. And I said, are we honest with ourselves? Are we honest enough with ourselves to tell ourselves the truth? And that means not just are we honest with ourselves to tell ourselves the truth and to just go through this litany of negative weaknesses and all that kind of stuff, but to be honest and truthful enough to talk about the gifts and the strengths and the insight and the experiences and the skills that you have that will create greatness in your services and products. When you take off the guardrails of what you used to do and be willing to create something new, turn what you do on its side, flip it upside down, throw it up in the air and see what happens, what formulates as it's coming down through the air. What comes to mind as you see those cards coming together and collectively falling in the air? What can you and your team build when you allow truth, when you allow people's voices to come? So if any of this resonated with you today, if it has, if you could just, has any of this resonated with you? Has any of this helped you? I'm asking you to please provide some feedback. And as a gift to you, I want to give you the ebook, No Bosses Allowed, Lead to Serve and Transform. I guarantee that those 11 steps that I've outlined in that book, those 11 positions on the game board, when you look at that leader versus the boss, it gives you that template that you need to not only gain the strength you need as a leader, but to empower your team to be a greater help to you. I often say to people, especially now, that we have to stop treating the people who are around us as commodities, as assets. That's what I felt like when I was in that office. It was like, oh, Yvette's a throwaway. Nope, you're not good enough for this next position. So we'll just go away, hide under your desk, or leave if you want to. That's what I felt like when I left that office. I'm not a commodity. I'm a gift. I'm a gift. Everybody say, I'm a gift. Say it again. I'm a gift. One more time. I'm a gift to any world, to any organization, to any community. I'm a gift, not a commodity, not an asset, not a resource. I'm a gift. And so when you come to that realization, those type of incidents like I had when I was just trying to go to the next position to better myself and to better the outcome of my organization. But yet, I was treated like a throwaway. And when we recognize that every individual matters, then we will approach our businesses, our ministries, our community activities. We will approach our families and our friends very differently. Very differently. So I'm inviting you to take a moment, take out your phones, scan this code, and if you would, give me some feedback on how this is resonating with you, what helped you, where can I improve? It's a really just 2-minute survey, just 6 questions, really quick. If you wouldn't mind, take out your phone, and if you put on the camera, and you put the camera and you hold it up to this QR code, you will then see that a URL code. Click on that URL and you'll be right in the survey. And then at the end of the survey, you have an opportunity to download the ebook, No Bosses Allowed, Lead to Serve and Transform. I'm going to give you a few moments now to literally do that survey now. Will you do that for me? Would you take the time to help me take this message of resiliency, transformational leadership to the world? Because I feel we are in a crisis. And there are absolutely some organizations, many organizations, that are doing this and doing it well. And they're doing it well because they're constantly, intentionally, always looking to up their game. They're striving for and aiming for excellence, not perfection. Not perfection. While there's other organizations that aren't aware of what's happening with the practices and the behaviors that they've done for so long, it just becomes natural. And they're not yet understanding and have clarity around if they would just change their approach, if they would just take on the practices that we equip them with in the V.I.C.T.O.R framework. And I show them how to do that using the principles of agile change leadership. If they would just do that, they would see a total shift in their organization for the better. For the better. So I'm hoping that you've now found the survey. You've now clicked on and responded to those questions, and you've downloaded your ebook. And the other thing is, if you wouldn't mind, just go to the next, at the end of the survey, you'll be able to follow me on social media. And I'd love for you to do that so that we can collaborate, we can continue to share, we can continue to grow together, we can continue to transform what leadership looks like, what it sounds like, and how it leaves people feeling, and how we shift and navigate change. We don't know why agile change leadership principles are so near and dear to me, why I'm so passionate about it, because when we don't handle change properly is when people, our gift to the organizations, they run the risk of getting hurt the most. Think about it. When there's been changes in your organization or a redirection, it's usually the individuals or groups of individuals, or it could have even been a senior leader that's been actually hurt in the transition because we don't know how to properly be agile in our change leadership and do it well. That's what I want to help you with, to do it well. So I want to thank you for providing that feedback. I really, really appreciate it. If you've given that feedback, would you just um, let me know, and I will see it in the comments, and I will see it also on my end. And trust me when I tell you, I take everything that people share with me, the feedback, I take it seriously. I really evaluate it. I really use it, and help it to make me become better and to make improvements where necessary. So before we go, I wanted to give you one last thought. And thank you for being with me. Thank you for staying with me throughout this conversation around resilient, transformational leadership. It's time for the greatness in you as a leader to show up. Let your destiny speak out loud so your organization's destiny can speak out loud. Or if you're an individual who's figuring out and navigating where you're going to land, even, that's even more important to let your voice be heard. Let your voice be heard, because there is power in your voice, because there's power in your thoughts. Not one of us is the same. Not one of us is the same. And so, why would I want to miss out on what you have that I'll never ever get if you're not comfortable enough and empowered enough and confident enough to share? I want you to share. I want you to release the ideas that you have. I want your organization to be able to constantly pump out ideas, quality products, quality services that are going to help the needs of our people in our industry, in our communities, in our world, in our states, in our countries. I want you to be able to do that. And I want you to be able to do it more effectively and more expeditiously. And that's why I'm on this quest to help both individuals and organizations to do that. I am. And so I wanted to leave you with this one last point that I really wanted to stress. And that is always, always remember that change is personal. Now, I know we have the popular saying where people say, oh, don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. It's not personal. Just go ahead and do this change. Just get it done. Change is very personal. And we will be more successful when we understand the real impact to everyone who's involved. And some have more direct impact, while others have a more exterior impact. But nonetheless, still impact. And we must know which is which and how it's going to change their life, how they have to change in interacting with us. Acknowledge the deepest impact. So that person that when you say, this is how we're now doing business, this is how we're now going to serve our clients, or clients, this is now how we're going to serve you, please take the time to understand and be able to communicate and acknowledge how it's changing them up front. So you prepare them, you manage those expectations. And in doing so, in the development of the change, that you've already addressed it, so you minimize any negative impact to those who are directly going to experience this. Allow time for people to adjust. Allow them to adjust and welcome the resistance. So you get a reality check. So you really know what people are thinking. Because remember, if you don't communicate clearly, people will make it up. They will make up stories. They will share those stories. And now you've got this wildfire fire out there that you have to contain. and most often dispel the myth. And proactively support where you can. Leaders who can express, model, and reinforce a change have the most success. Let me say that again. If you consistently express, model, and reinforce the change that you are helping the organization go through, then you will have more engagement than you could ever imagine. And then lastly, is that credibility is key. So remember when I was going for that new position, and now I have my most senior leader, discrediting me? That's why I fought so hard. Yes, I fought for my family. Yes, I fought for my own personal reputation. But credibility, once you lose credibility, it takes forever to get that back. Whether you're an individual or organization, you've got to be able to maintain your credibility throughout every ebb and flow. You've got to be able to maintain your credibility through every hurdle, through every victory. Because if we don't handle the victories properly, we can also lose credibility. We need to be able to be trustworthy, balance our representation, communicate well. I had this is a quote from someone that was on one of my teams where they expressed to me how great they felt I was as a leader. I was humbled by this, that he felt protected because of the way I served in my leadership role. He felt that he was safe and he could do and explore his skills. He could explore his thought patterns. He could release his voice because I created a space where he could thrive. And I know it's possible. I know it's possible, and I know it's absolutely necessary. And that's why I'm on this quest. That's why I'm on the quest to make sure that leadership, the tapestry of leadership across our country, across the globe, is one that leaves people feeling better than they found them, leaves organizations far greater than when they joined. It's been my absolute pleasure to be here with you. And not only am I looking to, that's my quest to create that space, but I know it's something I can't do by myself. And so I've started a group, Lead with Soul. It's a community of leaders that are committed to transforming the tapestry of leadership. How we sound, how we believe, how we think, how we leave people feeling. And right now, at an introductory rate of $47 a month, you can join this group. We're coming together as committed, dedicated leaders to not only being the best for ourselves and our organizations, but raising up and growing and nurturing better leaders as they're coming up. No greater gift and influence can a leader have than when you reach back and you prepare those who are coming behind you to not only step in your shoes, but be far more successful in your shoes. And that's the whole point of Lead with Soul, that we lead from a place that we know we're doing the right thing at the right time with the right people in the right way. And this is my why. My grandchildren, my daughter, her family, I want to make sure that whatever environment my grandchildren step in as a career and even as a learning institution, that they are going to find leaders who lead with a healthy soul. And it's all because myself and those who are rallying around this movement with me are creating that space. And as we do it and we show others and they show others, it's going to just span across the globe. And we're going to literally see and hear people saying, I had a great leader, so that they can become a great leader. What a better legacy to leave. That's my why. That's my why. I want to leave a legacy for my grandchildren, my children, my children's children's children, so they can have a safe place, a thriving place, a place that will challenge them, a place that will allow them to feel, oh, know that it's okay to fail, but fail fast and fail forward. And get back up and do the thing that you know that you can do. Be innovative, collaborate, and transform those organizations, transform that space, transform those communities, because they're being great leaders. That's my why. They're my why. And because I've experienced such negative, it's been my quest, and it is now my mission to make sure I support leaders. Because I don't think anyone goes out of their way just to be a bad leader. I'm not suggesting that at all. But when you don't have the correct support or enough support, and things are overwhelming for many organizations and leaders because of the shift in the workforce. I am awesomely grateful for organizations who have allowed me to come in and help them create that thriving space, help them to know how to go through change, how to lead change, how to actually initiate change, keep the things going that are working well, and do those changes in their workflow, in their products, and their services in an agile way, that they're constantly going from ideation to market. They're constantly growing. They're constantly moving with quality and speed. Thank you, Les Brown. Thank you. Thank you for again inviting me to this platform. Thank you all. I appreciate this. Have an amazing and wonderful day. Bye-bye.